Hey everyone, welcome to this Monday's episode of Conversations with Kelsey. We are going to get really personal on this episode as I take you through this journey into my 20s and where I'm at today. I did kind of tease that I would be doing this on last week's episode, so I wanted to follow through. And this is going to be really vulnerable and just really honest. So hopefully there's something for everyone to take away from my experience, because that's just what I want, is to make a difference, maybe inspire somebody, even if it's just one person. That's what matters most. So I am here, guys. I am kicked back. We are on the couch. I am totally rocking my Harry Potter t-shirt today. No shame at all. I think it's kind of fun. Wear these different t-shirts. Just be comfy. I'm here. I just need like some popcorn, I guess, for this chill conversation today. Anyway, you guys, all right, let's dive in. Let's start with where Kelsey was at 20 years old. I went way back into Facebook to find this picture. And I wasn't even 20 for an entire month. I saw from the timestamp, and I was on my way to a country music festival, meeting up with my friends. This was the first time I really ever ventured anywhere by myself, and I had my car loaded up. I was gonna go spend the weekend at the festival with my friends, and I honestly had a really good time. I guess maybe that was when my taste for adventure started. Who knows? But at 20, so where I was at 20 and 21, I was in college. So I went to college for psychology. I wanted to be a counselor because I have this absolute love for helping people, which I still have. But the courses scared me. I had a really hard time with them, so I jumped ship. And I switched gears to marketing, which, oh my gosh, you guys, marketing, I knew in the back of my mind I wanted to do journalism. At the time, I didn't know that it was called journalism, so I went into marketing, ended up doing that for one semester, got the heck out of there, and it finished into my journalism degree. And at 20 years old, I was actually with my high school sweetheart still. We were together on and off from the time that I was 14, and by the time I was 21, 22, we were no longer together. So that was a very big part of my life, and you know, it felt like half of my life really at the time. So I took a lot of experiences away from that relationship, and that really brings me to my first piece of advice this is for anyone who is struggling in their 20s right now. If you're in your early 20s, if you have a family member or a child at this age, this is just a conversation I think you should remember, is at any time you are going through a very difficult breakup, is to remember to have some class and be careful what you say, is what I wish I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self, because there were a lot of things that I regret and a lot of things that I've learned, especially a lot of things I've learned. And I just want to say, if you're in this situation, be mature about it. I understand it might be difficult, but you'll thank yourself later. So that being said, I went from 20 to fast forward to 22. I was in a new relationship. I had graduated college. The first in my family, so my parents were super proud to have a bachelor's degree. And before I even graduated, I had my first big girl job as a reporter right in my hometown. And let me tell you, that experience was very educational. There was so much good. I met wonderful people. All the interviews I did, it was an incredible experience. And I just think back about the things I got to do, and I found some photos of that as well. I was able to stand inside Camp Randall Stadium. Anyone that doesn't know, Camp Randall is where the Badgers play football. That is in the University of Madison. I was on that field, standing there, watching my high school team play in the football championships. And that was something I got to do at 23, 24 years old. It was, that experience in itself was one of the highlights of working as a reporter for the first time. So that was what I was doing. I had, like I said, a new relationship. At the time, my significant other, he owned his own home. So here I am living large. Like, you can't tell me nothing. I was playing house. I was going out with my friends. I was bartending on weekends. I felt like the coolest person ever because all my friends wanted to hang out with me. We were drinking, being stupid. That's what every weekend consisted of at that age anyway. And then you just go to work and work for the weekend. So that was all fun and games until about 25, things started to get really rocky. And I laugh because my 20-year-old self was fully convinced that by 25 I would be married and have a family and just be super happy and everything would be great. No, absolutely not. Not happening for Kelsey, not in the cards. So I decided to do what any smart person would do, and to fix my relationship, let's add a family member. So no, not what you're thinking. We got a dog. And no. Note to self, anyone, pets, children, they do not fix things, so don't do it. Write that down. Don't do that. Granted, Rocky has been the best thing to happen to me. He is literally my child. So at 25, I got my Dalmatian, and ironically, I named him Rocky for like Rocky Balboa. I love the Rocky movies. And that boy truly became my actual rock in life without even knowing it when I named him. And him and I actually moved out on our own when I was 26. So here I am. I am 26 years old. I have never been on my own before at 26 years old. I have had a boyfriend since I was 14. I do not know how to be independent. And here I am. Crash course at doing it on my own. I had clothes and a couple other things, but I had no furniture, didn't have a bed, no TV. I went out and had to buy all that stuff. Cue credit card debt, which also happens in your 20s. Try to avoid it if you can. You'll also thank me later for that. So there I was. I was literally, you guys, at rock bottom. At 26 years old, I had hit rock freaking bottom. I can still very clearly picture myself on the floor in my bathroom, hysterical. I could not physically get up. I was so heartbroken. I was so alone. I regretted all of my decisions. I just wanted to go back to where my life was. And that, it was miserable. But yet I wanted to go back there because it was easy. Comfortable. No, don't do that. So thankfully I didn't go back to that. I pushed through, and I did it with the best friends by my side. I had my girlfriends there when I called, bawling my mom to text. They picked me up, and I brushed my hands off, and I kept going. And it honestly was just one day I woke up and everything was better. It was really dark for a long time, for months, and then just I woke up a whole new person one day. So just know that that can happen to you too. So there I was I this house, it was seriously the cutest little house, guys, renting this place and doing it on my own. My best friend and I, she could lay on the couch and see me because it was literally 6 steps away, maybe if that, to my bedroom, and we just lay there and talk to each other. I didn't have a bedroom door, it was a curtain. It was just hilarious. So it was me and 2 dogs. At this point in time, I rescued my baby Creed in January of 2017. So, a little bit of advice for anyone that is trying to make it on their own, or even if you're a couple. Be very careful with jumping in and getting a pet. And that is something I wish I would have listened to a little bit better in my 20s, is the advice of, it is really hard to rent anywhere with animals, especially larger animals and animals that are on no-no lists. So I have a Shepherd and a Dalmatian. These 2 are on every insurance no-no list, which makes it really hard to rent. And the reason I mention this is 27-year-old Kelsey found this out the hard way when the place that I was renting at the time went up for sale and I had to get out. So I couldn't find anything. I was literally at the point where I was looking at Airbnb rentals. I was looking at campgrounds. I was so desperate, and it just made me so depressed. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I was pre-approved to buy a house, but I couldn't find anything in my price range. And then a miracle showed up, and a coworker of mine let me know about this house her family member just put up for sale. And you guys, it literally could have looked like Eeyore's stick-built shack, and I would have bought it because I was that desperate. So I jumped on it immediately. I just signed the papers, let me move in, I need somewhere to go now. And I don't mean to say all this and act like I didn't have anywhere to go, because I do have family that would have taken me in, and they did. It's just when you've lived on your own, it's really hard to move in with family. And I really wanted to avoid being that kind of, a burden. So I waited for the closing on the house. It was about a month, and I crashed on an air mattress at my mom and stepdad's. Bless their hearts. I had the 2 dogs and me smashed into their little office room, and it worked. And there I was, 27 years old. It was August of 2017 when I became a homeowner. And this was the crowning moment of my life. Sure, a bachelor's degree is great, but being able to be that girl who was so dependent for so many years, and then do it on my own. Finally, be independent, make it on my own with nobody else. That will forever be one of my favorite moments to achieve that. And that house, we put so much love into it, so much work. The entire house got completely repainted. We ripped up the flooring and we gutted out the upstairs bedroom, put in a new closet. There was so much work that got put into that, and it just will forever be something that I cherish no matter where I'm at in life, because it just felt like home, and it was cozy, and it was lived in, it was loved. It was a great first home of mine. And it's one of those moments where I look back and remember how truly blessed I am with some very wonderful people in my life. So thank you to everyone that helped me in that situation. So Kelsey is a homeowner at 27. I am also, I had been single for a year and I met someone. So I have had 3 serious relationships in my life, and the third one came when I was 27. It happened very fast. I truly did feel like I met my person that I was meant to be with. Like our magical love story was just, it was one to tell for decades. It was great. And I just wanted to believe that it was going to happen. It was meant to happen. And at this time, so many of my friends that I had graduated high school with are married. I'd been to all their weddings. I am watching them have babies. And I finally found somebody that wanted to marry me. So I jumped on it and I rushed it. And I kept telling myself that it would get better. And let me tell you, for anyone in a relationship, anyone looking at getting married, if you feel that way, if you feel that, oh, it'll get better, no, do not think like that. Do not get married. You will lose a lot of money. So don't do that. You're going to lose a lot of things other than just money as well. So that is something really important. Again, advice to take is to remember that you need to be with somebody that you love for exactly who they are. My dad gave me that advice when I was 18 years old, and again when I was 20, 22. It's been his biggest philosophy for me is to find someone who doesn't need to get better, who doesn't need to change, who you don't have to fix. And I have learned that I'm a fixer, not the best trait to have. And that is what happened with this relationship and a lot of other personal things in all of my relationships that I will keep private. If anybody needs me to get further into them and give you further advice, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to do that for you. But I spent 9 months in counseling with that relationship, and that is the best thing that I took away from that relationship was the therapist I met. Now, I understand a lot of people roll their eyes at counseling, but what I want to say for you is don't knock it till you try it. We spend so much time trying to better ourselves. You know, we read books, we watch YouTube videos, we take classes at work for additional training so we get paid more. We always try to make ourselves better in other areas of our life, and therapy is the exact same thing. You don't have to have a problem to need counseling. So please take that and let that sink in. Do not be too prideful. Do not roll your eyes, because I personally learned so much about myself, and it is something that I will cherish forever, and I will gladly go back anytime that I need it. It took me 2 offices to find my therapist. The first experience was awful. I will say absolutely awful. And most people would have ran. They would have said how stupid it was. They never would try it again. But I also want to remind you that, I'm going to leave you with this example. You go out to a restaurant and you get yourself a steak. I just had this happen, ordered a prime rib. Awful. It came out charred. And if you've ever had prime rib, it is not meant to be burnt. So I'm going to go back. It's not going to be the last time I ever have prime rib because of that experience. I love steak, so I will keep having more. And that is what I just want to remind you about therapy is don't give up. Keep trying. Keep trying. If you were to go to a doctor and not get the answers you need, you're going to keep trying. So give it some thought. And the reason I say this is because I was at a really bad place, and therapy definitely helped me through it. I fought like hell for that relationship. I fought for all of my relationships, but this one I gave it everything that I had. And in April of 2019, I was numb. I have never been more exhausted in my entire life than I was at that moment. So I remember it was a Saturday and I was driving to work. I called my mom because I have learned that I'm the type of person that I can talk to myself, I can think about things, but I need to say them out loud. And I remember saying just that. I remember calling her and saying, Mom, I need to talk to you and I need to say it out loud to make sure that what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling actually makes sense. So at the end of that conversation, I knew that I was done. I had given everything that I could, and I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't even know who I was anymore. And I walked into therapy that day as well, and I told my counselor that therapist, that I couldn't do it anymore. And I was done. And he asked me if I was for sure and if there was anything we could try, and I could not physically give anything more. And he was okay with that. So it took a month for things to kind of fizzle and separate themselves. We were on different paths. Finally, it was about a month before things were done. And I will tell you, May of 2019, I turned 29, and I was myself again for the first time in a couple of years. I literally felt that weight off of my shoulders. I was at peace. And that was such a profound time in my life, and it is something that I want you all to take note of, is to not bury your feelings. Listen to yourself. And this is my advice after, like I said, 10 years of going through what I have, is truly listen to yourself. You need to have a real conversation with yourself and your feelings, and don't bury them. Do not bury them. Talk them through with somebody, and don't settle. I have been known to do that, and you don't want to. It is so much easier said than done. I know I've wasted years of my life settling, and thankfully got myself out of it, but have the courage. Don't be afraid. It's going to be scary, but it's worth it. And that is something I have felt very strongly about in my life, because I've taken leaps in my personal life, in my career, and I have learned that some of the most amazing things happen when we're afraid. You need to be uncomfortable. And I don't care. I mean, I've done that stuff at work where you're kicking and screaming like a toddler on the floor at Walmart who didn't get a toy. That's okay. Kick and scream, but do it while you're still pushing yourself. And at the end, you're going to be so proud of yourself. So don't give up. Be afraid, but take a step. Take a step anyway and give yourself some credit. So, like I said, this is something that I'm saying to my middle sister and my younger sister. And trust me, we all do things on our own. We're stubborn and we don't always like to listen, but I hope there has been something to take away from this through my journey over the last 10 years and my experiences. They're by no means as bad as some people have experienced, but it's my journey, and I know that there's something to share. So I appreciate you all listening and letting me be really personal and really honest with you. And don't hesitate to message me if you need somebody to help you through any situation in your life. It doesn't have to be a breakup. It could be grieving just the loss of someone, a loved one. It could be struggling to take that leap in your career. You guys, your 20s are magical. There are so many firsts in your 20s. Your wedding, your children, your first big girl or boy job, your first car, You know, I think of all the things I've done in my 20s. I went on my first plane ride. I touched the ocean. I touched a dolphin. I went to my first NFL game, my first baseball, and, you know, all these firsts that I've had, these places I've been, these experiences. There is so much you go through, and I just want you all to enjoy it.